Golden gun.
Everyone came out west thinking they'd strike it rich, but most left broke, or buried in a boomtown's graveyard 2,000 miles from home. During the great gold and silver rushes, thousands of dreamers poured into raw mining camps and founded makeshift cities, chasing the ever-elusive promise of striking it rich. Quiet valleys, gulches, and coastal ports became roaring hubs of tents, brothels, saloons, and muddy streets where fortunes changed faster than a prairie fire with a tailwind. So what could $1 actually buy you in a mining camp or boomtown? The answer was never simple. In the boomtowns of the American frontier, $1 wasn't always a silver coin or government-issued banknote. More often, it was a little pile of gold dust weighed out at the counter when you made your purchase. And who knew when the scale was last calibrated, or if the merchant had tinkered with it to tip in his favor? If you wanted even a shot at striking it rich, the first thing your dollar went toward was tools. A pan for sifting through gravel, a shovel for digging, a pickaxe for breaking rock. Back east, a few dollars might have bought you the whole kit. Out in the camps, $1 barely got you started. A single gold pan, nothing more than a metal dish, could run several dollars on the frontier. A pickaxe or shovel often cost $5 or $10. What $1 might get you was a replacement handle, a tin scoop, or a second-hand tool on its last legs. And if it broke, you were right back where you started. Merchants knew this. They hauled wagon loads of tools into the camps, and they charged whatever desperate miners would pay. It was said more fortunes were made selling tools than swinging them. One thing was certain, without tools, your chances of finding gold or silver were less than nothing. A single dollar wouldn't outfit you for success, but it could keep your dream alive for one more day in the dirt. Food in the mining camps was scarce, hard to transport, and brutally overpriced. A single egg could cost $1. A loaf of bread, the same. A pound of coffee beans or a slice of bacon might run even higher. And you had no guarantee of freshness. That half-spoiled meal you bought with your coin might be the only thing standing between you and going hungry another day. Drink was no better. Whiskey was sold by the glass, but out in the camps, $1 might not even get you a full pour. More likely, it got you a watered-down shot in a chipped glass, the barkeep daring you to complain. Coffee at least was strong and reliable, but at $1 a cup in some camps, it wasn't a daily indulgence. Shelter wasn't much of a bargain either. $1 might rent you a space on the floor of a drafty shack or a flea-bitten bunkhouse packed shoulder to shoulder with other miners. In the tent cities, some camps charged a fee just to spread your own blanket on the dirt. And if you were lucky enough to find a hotel, don't imagine feather beds and clean sheets. For $1, you got a straw mattress crawling with lice and the privilege of listening to a stranger snore 2 feet from your head. If the shisty merchants in camp didn't take your dollar, the card tables probably would. Gambling was the true heartbeat of every boomtown, from the saloons to the shacks and the bawdy halls in between. For a restless prospector, a single coin could feel like the quickest path to fortune or the fastest way to ruin. Once you got a seat at a poker game, a round of faro, or a spin at the roulette wheel, your dollar could multiply instantly or vanish just as fast. At first, the stakes were small by design, just enough to draw you in, but cards had a way of multiplying wagers, and what began as a single dollar often ended with a miner pushing an entire poke of gold dust across the table. And when the money ran dry, tempers flared. More than one unlucky player saw his last dollar turn into his last night on Earth. Cheating was common. Dealers with stacked decks, marked cards, and sleight of hand made sure the house nearly always won. And the man who caught them rarely lived long enough to collect his winnings. Gunfire in the middle of a card game wasn't just a story. It was a nightly risk. $1 at the gambling table wasn't just a wager. It was bait. The saloon keeper gave you the illusion of control, the chance to dream that a single coin could become a fortune. But the truth was simple. More miners lost their gold in a deck of cards than ever dug it out of the ground. Brothels in the camps weren't usually silk and velvet affairs. They were rough rooms attached to saloons or rows of tiny shacks called cribs where women worked day and night for whoever had a coin. Out here, a miner's poke could vanish faster between a woman's sheets than it ever did at the card table. A single dollar might buy a few hurried minutes in a filthy back room on a straw mattress that stank of sweat and liquor. Privacy was scarce, disease was common, and a man walked out lighter in his purse and sometimes worse off in his health. The saloons themselves blurred the line between drink and desire. $1 bought you whiskey so harsh it scorched your throat, or a cheap drink poured by a smiling barmaid who might let her hand linger just long enough to convince you to spend more. A friendly laugh downstairs could turn into a whispered deal upstairs. Many miners made deals worth more than the coins they had in their pocket, leading to debts accruing quickly day after day. Dance halls offered another temptation. For $1, you could buy tickets that earned you a few dances with a hall girl, women who whirled you across the floor while a band scraped out ragged tunes, but every dance ended with the girl pressing you for another ticket, another coin, until your pockets were empty and you were left swaying alone on the floor. Vice in the camps was never glamorous. It was quick, dirty, and expensive. $1 didn't buy romance or luxury. It bought sweat, noise, and the illusion of comfort. A momentary escape from the mud and misery before sending you right back to the diggings. For all the things $1 could buy in a mining camp, there was far more it couldn't touch. $1 could not get close to buying you a gold claim on good ground. Those often cost hundreds of dollars in cash or gold dust. Even then, you might just be staking mud. $1 wouldn't buy you a horse, a mule, or even a decent saddle. Without animals, you carried your world on your back, trudging from one played-out stream to the next. $1 wouldn't buy you protection. Guns were expensive, $10, $20, even $30 for a decent revolver. Ammunition cost extra, and in camps where violence was a nightly occurrence, walking unarmed meant you were little more than prey. Nor would $1 buy you medical help. When fever swept through a tent city or when a cave-in broke bones, the price of seeing a doctor could run as high as $20 if you were lucky enough to find one sober enough to work. For men who lived on the edge of hunger, that might as well have been a fortune. A single dollar wouldn't buy you anything permanent. At best, it got you another day in a world that never stopped testing a man's mettle and will to endure. Back then, $1 in the camps might buy you a meal, a drink, or a bed, but never all three. Adjusted for today, that same dollar was closer to 30 or 40 in modern money. Imagine paying $30 for an egg, 40 for a loaf of bread, or 50 for a single watered-down shot of whiskey. That was the everyday reality of survival in the boomtowns. The truth is, the miners weren't just gambling with gold dust in a pan. They were gambling with every coin in their pocket, every breath in their lungs, and every sunrise they lived to see. $1 in the gold rush wasn't wealth, it was a wager. And most of the time, the house won.
Gold and guns, gold and guns. Thank you for watching Golden Guns. Please like and subscribe.